Well, welcome everyone. For those of you who are new, I'm Sarah Olivieri. I'm a #1 international best-selling author, creator of the Impact Method, founder of PivotGround, and former executive director. So for those of you who are executive directors, I've been in your shoes. I've also been a program director and coordinator. So I've been in those roles, and I feel for you, and so happy for everybody to join us today. We've got a great group of people signed up for this micro training. I do these micro trainings almost every week, and my hope for you is to give you something tangible in just the right quantity. We go for about 15 to 20 minutes of training, and then you can stick around to have your questions answered. If you're watching the recording, you won't be having access to the questions because we don't record the Q&A session. But if you'd like to have your questions answered in the future, please feel free to pop those in the chat if you're watching the recording, or put them in the chat or the Q&A here. If you're live right now, and you can also email me or schedule a session with me if you want to have your question addressed one-on-one. You can do that through pivotground.com. So today we're talking about diagnosing your fundraising problems. Now, obviously, yes, Miro, I'm a big Miro user. I use it for all my slides. That's the tool I'm using. For those of you who are interested in my tools, I did another training. It's on my YouTube page about the tools I use to run a digital business and have for many years. So I'm breaking this down into 4 areas that I usually check when someone comes to me and say fundraising is an issue for us. But I will tell you that most people who come to me and say that money is their biggest challenge, it's almost never actually the case. So at the end, I'm going to touch on what's usually the biggest area that I see nonprofits need to work on to make the biggest difference overall. So we're going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with number 4. This is from like the thing that might be less of a problem, the small detail, and we're going to work up to the biggest overarching thing that I see is the real problem for most organizations. And some of you who are here today might recognize some of these websites because I pulled them from the list of people who registered. So I want to talk about number 4, what is your fundraising issue? It could be that the moment of giving is actually an obstacle course. And don't feel bad if this is you, because most organizations have this problem to one degree or another. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of some live websites and point out what I mean. If you want help with this, besides having a call with me, I strongly recommend you check out Next After's resources on how to build the actual page that people are going to give on in a way so that the moment of giving is not an obstacle course. Now, you might be receiving checks or have in-person giving as well. That's harder for me to give you an example of on the internet, so we'll just stick with some online giving. So Relief Michigan, if you're here, say hi. I'm here to help you. I've gone ahead right to your donate page to take a look. And the images are fantastic, and I'm glad that you gave me some text to read, but I'm a little overwhelmed by the choices because I already clicked to donate, and now there's volunteer, there's membership, and then there's this form. And this form is not your fault. I've actually spoken directly with the company that produces this form and asked them about potentially making some changes to make them higher converting. This is how bad the problem is with the moment of giving, that a lot of the software tools who are making the donation form tool for you to use, they aren't even paying attention to this. That's how bad it is, but still it's something to work on and something to consider. So see this form, I have to scroll, and I'm also like, menu, oh boy, what's this about? Okay, and before I know it, I am going nowhere, or I'm leaving your page. Earlier when I clicked the links, it opened a new page in this window. Now it seems, oh, here we go. It's probably just slow because I'm giving a webinar. Oh boy, now what? Okay, so I guess oh wow, other people donated. Now I'm really distracted. What was I doing again? Oh yeah, I was giving. Who am I giving to? Yes, okay, trees. Okay, let's do this. So, ooh, what are these buttons? Oh, they're not buttons. Okay, one time or monthly? I guess one time. You said one time was good, so I'll just leave it there. Did you want me to donate monthly? Because if so, you might have made this the default. All right, 25, sprout. What does sprout mean? I don't know. Oh, seedling? Now you've given me too much information. I wasn't asking for it. So oh, PayPal. Wait, should I not have continued up there? Should I go down here? And oh boy, this form looks long. I don't know if I feel like filling this. And there's a timer. Oh my God. Now I know you didn't make this form. As I said, I've talked to this company specifically about this timer, which I think is a huge distraction. But you can see I came here with the intent, assuming I had the intent already to donate. And there's so many things, so many decisions, it's overwhelming. And I'm likely to say, oh man, let me just come back to this later. I'm not sure if I'm up for this right now. So that's one. We have a school. I love independent schools, and your school looks fantastic. But let's go right to, I clicked again. I already clicked to support. That's what I'm interested in. But here we go. Okay, so all right, what do I do? The donate button, but I wasn't quite ready. I want a little more information. Oh, the picture just showed up. And another picture. Okay, so is this just a slideshow? Yeah, so you've given me a little bit of message here, but it's kind of hard to read. I do really like some of your language down here. This is great. You could probably just remove all these distractions and then let me click on this donate button. Although I'd love it if you actually had a donation form directly on that page, because now I'm waiting for PayPal to load. And now I happen to be a PayPal user, but imagine if I wasn't, I might be feeling a little frustrated. Oh man, you know, I'm going to use PayPal. Okay, how do I do it with a credit card? So that's another one. One more example. Southwest Center, ways to give, make a donation, one option. Give me a little more reason. Okay, I'm interested in, but you haven't told me much here. So it's always good to remind your donor of what, you know, how they're going to partner with you and what's the result going to be. Okay, in memory of, oh, I don't know, that's optional. I would always try to capture this kind of information towards the end. And my email, okay, and now I have to donate. And now this button looks weird, and I don't know necessarily who authorized.net is, and I'm feeling a little nervous. Oh boy, now am I even on your website? I think so. Make a donation. Oh, I've got to enter this code. Geez. So as you can see, it's a bit of an obstacle course. So hopefully that helps. Can I get a yes in the chat if you're seeing what I mean by the obstacle course? Or do you need, if you want, you need to look at your site at the end, feel free. Yes, great. Feel free to put your site, put it in the Q&A so I come back to it. And if there's time, I will pull up your site live and give you a little bit of live feedback. Okay, so next up here, number 3, it could be, and it could be all 4 of these things. It could be your messaging. Is your messaging all about you, or is it about how your donor is going to interact with you? We want it to be about, well, really about 2 things. One, we want it to be about the people you serve and the end result, and how the donor is able to help get that result. We don't want to just be talking about yourself. So I've got Wisconsin Justice here. Looks like you're doing great work. Again, nothing personal here. So I've pulled up the homepage because this website to me is clearly saying its main purpose is to attract donors, because it says donate here. And so I'm assuming the rest of this is around donation. So you've told me a lot about what you do. Okay, this is what Wisconsin Justice Initiative does. Those are your priorities. But what about my priorities? And what is the experience for the people on the other end of your services? Recent successes, okay, great, you're doing good work. Continuing work, awesome. Okay, well, doesn't seem like you need my help. Looks like you're all good. See you later. But no, you probably do want a donation. So let's just click on through and see what we get. QGive, by the way, I think does decent work when it comes to forms. If you look at this form compared to some of the other ones, it's really quite clear what I need to do. It's not overly long, and I'm not distracted because there are no other links to take me anywhere else. But there wasn't really much to tell me about what the end result, the problem that you're solving, and how I can join in being part of the solution. I'm also going to look at the Adult Day Center of Somerset County as an example of a site that is much more talking to me. So again, we're actually directly on the donate page, and great, how you can help. Oh yes, you want my help? Great, I'm listening. So you're doing your best to support our members and caregivers through the creation of virtual programming and caregiving support. Can you be there for us today? Oh yes, I can probably be there so that you can be there tomorrow. So I love that you're using the word you. It clues me in a lot. I wish that you had a donation form instead of a button right on this page, and that you weren't sending me away to read a message from your executive director or learn more about how it's impacting your budget. Or if you had these towards the end, so that if somebody was not ready to give already, that there was then more information to convince them. But otherwise, I really, you're telling a story here. You've got a nice simple picture that gives me a sense if I'm not that into reading, or most people are very visually oriented. So let me know, are you seeing the difference between a kind of problem, outcome, and donor-centered page versus one that's all about what the organization does? Give me a yes in the chat if you're seeing this. This is one of those things that's so easy for me to tell you that that's the thing that you need to do, and for you to say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense when you read it. It is so hard to say this about yourself. So unless you're ready to put in the time to get really diligent about, just start by just changing every word to a you can. But if not, it's great to hire an expert writer to help you write this kind of message if you're struggling. Because just like you can't really do great therapy on yourself, and it can be hard to talk about yourself, same thing happens with the organization. It's much easier for a third party to spoon feed you this language to you. So if you're gonna spend somewhere, this is one area I recommend hiring an expert who knows about conversion, copywriting, and fundraising, and can just help get this language down for you. And they can make kind of a master message for you, and then you can kind of cut and paste from it to do your landing pages and your social media posts. But it's really great to have some help with that starting place. So let's come on back for number 2. Okay, number 2. Are you spending all of your time on the, oh, that says less, but it should say least effective and efficient activities like events? Events, many people have had to cancel their events, and I hear them talking about shifting to virtual events. Now, there's probably a lot of great work to be done to improve virtual events, but tried and true, what we already know about fundraising is that events are the least efficient way to fundraise. Things like individual giving, major gifts, capital campaigns are their own beast of themselves, so I won't even count them here. Planned giving and getting those recurring donors to support you day in and day out, those are the most efficient ways to fundraise. Now, we'll do another training to go a little more into when and why you might choose a less efficient way, because you could bring in tons and tons of money, but those are for organizations who don't have fundraising challenges. And I'm going to assume that if you showed up today for Diagnose Your Fundraising Issues, that you have fundraising issues. So probably you need to spend your time in order of efficiency. So make sure that you are focusing on the most effective and efficient fundraising activities first. Really get them ingrained in your organization, moving like a well-processed or well-oiled machine or streamlined process. And once that's really taken off, then you can move to a slightly less efficient, but maybe successful at a high volume type of activity. So who here has been doing events? There's no shame, but who here has been doing events as their primary fundraising activity? Give me a little peek, a little brave peek by saying yes or hi or a thumbs or a smoke signals in the chat. This is such, a common thing. We see all of these different nonprofits. We see our neighbors doing it, and so we think it's the thing to do. Yes, lots of events, not primary. Okay, so now you know to search for the other kinds, and if you need a quick cheat sheet, think about major gifts, individual donations, planned giving. Get those 3 systems in place before you worry about other things. Also, depending on the nature of your organization, but in all likelihood, grants is also not where you should be starting. So make sure you have those other things in place before you really start thinking about grants. And finally, the number one thing that is probably at the heart of many organizations' fundraising woes, which is that you haven't embraced fundraising as a core function in your nonprofit and given it basically the same kind of importance, integration into your whole organization and weight as your programs. And this can be hard, and I think it happens because we are heart-driven people and we're all about our programs and doing our services. I made this very unfancy quick diagram for you, but your programs are really fueled by 2 things. They're fueled by people, the people who run them, the people who are in them, and they are fueled by money. And so if we ignore the fundraising piece, we are ignoring this piece of the fuel. And so at the end of the day, our programs are paying the price. So if your fundraising is the total responsibility of your board or some volunteer, or not everybody in your organization realizes that fundraising is part of the day-to-day just as delivering programs, then that is the thing that you need to fix first. So if you have all of these issues, start with this one and then work your way back. Once you have an ingrained system inside your organization for fundraising, then make sure that you are focusing on the right kinds of events with the right kind of messaging, and that the donor, the final experience is not final experience. The actual moment of giving is not an obstacle course. And when you've done those things, you will find that you're having incredible success. Now, I told you that most organizations who come to me saying money or lack of money is our biggest issue, it turns out usually that there's one issue deeper that is really behind it. And that actually has to do with people, because what fuels the ability to have this money? It's people. So people fuel your programs, and people also fuel the money. And so making sure that your team is organized and leveraged in a way that really maximizes every superpower that you have involved, whether it's a staff member, a volunteer, a board member, some other kind of supporter or constituent or community member, making sure that you have really harnessed the full potential of all those people is what really will drive your nonprofit to success in making an impact and having plenty of resources and money at its disposal. And that is the real thing. It's your human capacity that you need to make sure you have tapped into and addressed. And the truth is, it's not expensive to invest in improving your human capacity. That's a topic, though, of another day. I just wanted to let you know that it was there. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation about what's going on in your nonprofit, I'd be so happy to speak with you. And I offer free 45-minute consultation calls, and you can get a time slot at pivotground.com/apply.